I would like to call the Wisconsin Rapids Waterworks and Lighting Commission meeting to order. I believe John Bergen, he has an excused absence today. So let's start with the approvals. We have 2.1 special commission meeting held on August 10th, 2016. Would somebody like to make a motion for approval?
Yeah, I would. Make a motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second? Mike made it a motion.
I'll second it.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, then the regular commission meeting held on August 10th, 2016.
I move to accept those.
Okay, we have,
I'll second it.
Rick made the motion and Mike seconded it. Is there any other discussion, comments? If not, all in agreement, please say aye. All right, I believe there's no action items today.
No.
And department updates, safety committee. All right, see, we have to install required DOT inspection booklets in all the vehicles. Is that pickup trucks and everything that we own has to have a?
That's only, the DOT inspections are only required for any vehicle that you have to have a CDL for.
Oh,
So that
okay.
would not be the pickup trucks,
Yeah,
the
the-
Fusion or anything
okay.
like that, it's just the bigger trucks.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, line superintendent report.
I'd like to say something, Tom.
Yeah.
I know that my word doesn't mean a heck of a lot, but I've been doing a lot of traveling the last couple of weeks around town, and I am impressed with the work your people are doing. I mean, I spent an awful lot of my life doing the same work years ago. Not like that. I mean, they're smooth, you're safety-wise, you can see the trucks. I watched one guy take the big bucket truck the other day on Pepper and move around in traffic and back up in place, and he did it perfectly. And it's impressive. So you let them know they're doing a heck of a job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's good.
Josh, so the Birch Street outage, was that just corroded to the point of?
Yeah, just a cable failure.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we're waiting to get that board to fix up.
Next week, hopefully, right?
Next week, yep.
I saw after the big rain, that whole hole full, little swimming pool there.
What's the URD mean?
Underground residential distribution.
Oh, thank you. Why would I know that?
Acronyms. Achilles acronyms.
I know.
He asked the same thing you do.
Oh,
What's
you are, I
URD?
can tell you. Underground residential distribution.
And his response was,
You'll
how am
get
I
to know
supposed
those
to know
after a
that?
I said, why should I know? The acronyms, it's like you're in the military. Yeah. And everything Mike said, I agree with. You guys are good. And whenever you stop and talk to them, they're always nice to the point and readily available to tell you whatever you would need to know and back to work. So they do a nice job. Is there anything else with line superintendent's report? If not, the water department operations.
And Dale was down in Madison today at a training seminar. Wisconsin Water Association meetings today and tomorrow.
Okay.
Was it water related what they were doing on Chestnut there last month, or is that sewer?
Sewer.
Sewer?
Yeah.
Is it like Lion or something?
Yeah.
What they're doing? Okay.
I know the city is digging up off of Grand Avenue by the block building there. And the Johnson Hills building, is that anything that we have to do in there?
The lights, we're working on the lights for them.
There's no water mains
There's
or,
water there too. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what
there-
we're gonna do that pipe burst, I think. Yeah.
is that underground cable I know you talked about? Is that part of it?
It doesn't pass through the area they're digging, I don't believe. Our downtown underground piece doesn't, right? Or does?
It goes between Grand and Jackson, the three phases.
Okay, yeah, so it's not gonna be an issue.
Okay. Any other comments about the water department operations?
Just a question on the water measurements. So I was surprised with all the rain we had that it wasn't, the water table wasn't higher, but you know, it's so variable. But is that taken on like a consistent day of the month, or you know how you?
The last day of every month.
Last day.
And sometimes after a rain, it takes a while for it to get down to the groundwater, so I wouldn't be surprised for us to see it tick up next month.
All right, office managers report. Any comments?
The new customers, Joel, are they residential or commercial?
For water or electric?
Well, you had 2 new electric and 3 new water.
Those were residential.
Thank you.
Yeah, this 60 and 90-day receivables. Boy, that's really gotten in control. I can see you're even smiling. It really got low.
Yeah, I couldn't be happy with how those numbers.
Yeah, that's, and I see the trip collections and SDRC, is it called? Looks like we got quite a bit of back money from that, from write-offs.
Yes, we did.
But, you know, I see we in 2016, we disconnected 923 people,
So far.
and most
Well,
of
that's service addresses, so some of them may have been disconnected multiple times.
okay,
So those are 923 disconnections.
okay. When they're reconnected, do they have to pay to be reconnected?
Yes.
All by PSC established guidelines.
Okay.
Speaking of PSC, can you remind me what, I don't know if I ever knew it in the first place, but PSC 185, what is that?
That is the section of the administrative code that deals with the regulation of water utilities.
We're doing a total rewrite of it, or trying to. So Joel's been participating along with a lot of other municipal utility personnel throughout the state, so.
What is the purpose of that, Joel? Are things outdated? Is that one of the reasons?
Partially, yeah. The PSC stated goals are to update the statutes and with the end goal of making the rules regulating electric, water, and gas more consistent across the spectrum. And water's the first one to go, so the feeling is the changes we see in water are going to trickle down to the rest of the code.
I see.
So is it just staying apprised of what those changes might be, or is there anything that you see that could potentially impact us here?
There are many things that will impact us. We've been successful in getting a lot of probably what I would term the more cumbersome regulations taken out or watered down.
No pun intended.
It truly wasn't. But I anticipate that we're going to see some things stick, and we'll have to comply.
Now, from our perspective, since we're doing a lot of the stuff, a lot of the other larger utilities aren't doing, like the Milwaukees and the Madisons of the world.
Correct.
From a cost perspective, it won't be much for us to make the changes, correct?
I would say minimal.
Yeah. But it's just more tedious for the office, tracking everything, basically.
Are there any other comments, questions? If not, Director of Finance report? Jeff, I had something on water. If I can find it here, I've circled. I don't see it here. Let me disappear.
And the financials.
Yeah, on the financials.
You want to borrow my papers?
No, that's fine. I must have disappeared from the
app?
From the app, yeah. What I noticed was the fire protection. It went up like $200,000 and $300,000. I was wondering if you moved something from another account
The fire protection?
for, yeah.
You might be just looking at the budget compared to 2016. So the budget's just going to show the full year amount that we expect to collect. So year to year, that number is pretty consistent. It's just essentially up that 3% that we raised rates in June 2015.
Oh, here, operated for public fire protection. Last year, okay, I was looking at the current budget. No, it's in line. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's in line, and I was looking at the current budget.
Okay.
Okay, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Anything else that anybody have?
No, Tom, I think you covered it.
Thank you. Information Systems Administrator.
Progress on the position?
At the city?
Yeah.
I don't know if they went to council yet, but they got approval from the HR committee to use a recruiter
Okay.
for the director position.
Okay.
And then they're going to hire the help desk technician in tandem. So
Oh, okay.
the original plan was to wait for the director. Director would then hire the tech that they
Yeah.
want to hire. We're not going to wait for that.
Okay.
That's coming to the board next week.
Okay.
Our
So that's
council.
that's when it's going to council.
Anybody have anything else?
Camera system upgrades, or what is that? Is that for the backup cameras, or?
No, that's actually the building cameras, security cameras.
Okay.
That project is actually going to be pushed to next year.
Okay.
And then the other big part of that project is trying to get cameras working out at the wells and the substations. So getting some, external cameras way out and all there.
We started on the heating and cooling upgrade.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Are you going to be doing part of the
There'll be a-
controls on that?
Yeah, there'll be a server per se. It's just a computer, but it'll
Okay.
be set down in the server room, and that's what we'll use for controlling.
How far away is that from being completed here?
They're only a couple weeks from being finished.
Oh, okay.
It won't be
We've
long.
been working here the last several weeks, I know,
All right.
a couple guys.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments? Conservation Manager's report.
Honestly, Cranberry, that's in the beer and industrial park, right?
Yes, it's a new.
Okay, I didn't realize.
Industrial park area.
So we service that then?
Yes.
Oh.
You made a comment in here about Ace Hardware being a collection point for fluorescent bulbs.
Yes.
And that Focus on Energy might have some input on that, or can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, but what they are is a recycling center. There's over 400 recycling sites that are, that deal specifically with Focus on Energy in the state. And Ace Hardware is one of those recycling facilities that you can take your CFL bulbs to. Reason being is there's about 5 milligrams of mercury that are in a CFL bulb, and so they want those disposed of properly. So that is one of the locations in this area.
And what role does Focus on Energy have in that? Just information, or are they a collector? Or?
Ace Hardware then will send all the recycled bulbs to Focus on Energy for them to dispose of them properly.
So Focus on Energy is a collection point then?
Yes, they're the end point.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And do you know how are the disposal charges? How is that worked?
Through Focus on Energy?
No, I'm saying, so if you take in some larger CFLs, there's a disposal charge. And I don't know if that's an administrative fee for Ace, or is that?
I think I'm not quite sure on that. I know that there shouldn't be a charge to take the CFL bulbs there. However, if I can check on the possibility if there's a certain larger CFL bulb,
Yeah,
but I'm not aware of that.
I had 48s in it with a buck of light.
I'll check on that, Rick, for you. But I believe you can just take it there. Everything's free of charge. It's something that Ace, of course, gives to their customer.
Yeah, I've done the smaller ones, but I didn't know they had a charge.
I'll check into it.
Are there any other comments or questions?
I got one question. Golden Sands Speedway, what have they added that all of a sudden it,
Shot their demand up or something, right?
They haven't. Their demand, looking back in their history, as their usage has stayed the same. We kind of keep in touch with each other annually, and so it was pretty much just a phone call just to see where they could cut. They had some distribution demand charge questions where I reassured them they weren't paying a distribution demand charge, and it just kind of brought up the whole conversation of how they could possibly cut back. Some of those, I pretty much directed them into thinking about the possibility of LED lighting, since that is one of their larger loads at the racetrack is their lighting. And so at this point, we're just going to keep in communication with them as far as on Friday evenings, just to see the certain loads that they're turning off, how much that KW is dropping. So they're going to try a few different things to try to get that KW charge down, but they've been consistent for 5 years, so they haven't added anything.
so they're not adding, subtracting, they're asking you just to check it out?
Correct.
At the end of the race season, do they pretty much cut their load down to
Yeah,
nothing?
it's down to pretty much nothing.
The October 6th open house, is that going to go
It's out as we speak, and the bills that printed last night contain the stuff that Sean worked on. Customers will have in a couple of days. Then again, at the end of the month, when those bills go out.
And what's the Power Town display on that?
Our town display has been around for probably decades. Usually one of our linemen, they do it, it kind of shows adults and children the safety of, it's pretty much just a mock town display, say, sitting on a table of distribution lines. It has little linemen, and it
It's
works up to
actually
122.
energized, yeah.
Yeah, And it kind of shows electricity flowing through wires and
Okay.
what not to touch. More the safety aspect of it, has little transformers, and it's kind of a real live skit of what linemen experience and what's out there.
Kids like it because you can actually create an arc with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody gets electrocuted though, or?
No. When I first started out in the business over 30 years ago, I used to have to give Power Town demonstrations, and we didn't even wear gloves, and I never died, so I got jolted a lot.
Are there any other questions or comments? Director of Engineering and Electric Operations.
Thanks for the pictures, Todd.
Are you gonna go into the photography business?
Well, maybe Josh will, because he got half of them are his and half of them. But not for me.
So how high do those bucket trucks go?
75 to 75 foot. That's the biggest one we have.
Yeah, I want to ask the question, I don't really want to know, but Gainer substation upgrade, what did that cost us?
Because of insurance, $10,000, that's the deductible charge.
Okay.
But the breaker itself was,
$35,342.10.
And is there insurance coverage on that?
Yeah, roughly.
Is there insurance coverage on that?
yes.
Yes, our insurance is covering that. It's been-
Like I said, it's kind of unfortunate, but was there any kind of a safety learning thing? Did something?
Well, we kind of learned that they're very top heavy. We installed two just like that at high school last year and didn't have a problem. But this year the wheel got caught on the cement, and then that was just enough to get it tipping. And so what we did on the second one is we actually used the derrick digger to lift it into place, so we weren't rolling it into place. And that's how we'll do the next one when we get the new one coming in.
So the way you were successful was picking it up with a crane and putting it into
Yeah,
place?
that's what we did with the one after the first one got damaged.
Okay. Do you have to use an outside crane to do that, or do you have
No,
something?
we did our own truck, but we had to take the substation out of commission, which involved a lot of switching, but, it was the way to do it after the first one got wrecked.
Okay. Any other questions?
That tears your gut up though when they fall like
Oh, it
that.
does, yeah. It was a
I
long
got it.
Friday afternoon.
I was running a little forklift one time trying to keep one end. I won't go into detail, but more than my gut let loose. This picture you got, I'm gonna frame it at home, showing the fill go around the pole.
Oh, yeah.
We used to do that by hand out of the back of a dump truck.
Yeah, the city let us use their truck for that, and that saved a lot of time.
Oh.
Again, I'll give Josh the credit for that.
That one.
And Scott, we have thanked city staff for that assistance. It saved Josh a lot of time on that project in order to meet our tight window, so we've let him know.
Any other questions or comments? If not, let's go to the general manager report.
So has that announcement come out yet, or no?
It has not,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know why it hasn't. Hasn't been an MUW meeting or what. I'll check on that, maybe send you an email. But the person has been chosen, I know that much.
And accepted?
That I don't know. All we knew was we gave him the authority to go get the deal done. I never heard if it got done or not, so.
But the offer was extended?
Correct. I assume he had, otherwise we'd be back to the drawing board.
Right.
But I haven't heard that, so. just as an aside, Great Lakes Utilities, well, I was there in Manitowoc yesterday, but we met in Rapids last week, just the Power Supply Committee, and because of the surplus of money that Great Lakes Utility has, and some of you commissioners know, Water and Light's been working with them since I got here 8 years ago to kind of change their power supply mix and their portfolio to be more competitive. So since a lot of those changes have been made, Glue in 2015 for 16 had went 4 years without a wholesale rate increase, which is unheard of in today's markets. And then we met last week to discuss what to do with the extra surplus, and from the September billing through the end of this year, they're going to reduce wholesale rates by 5%. So customers will see that through their PCAC, so there'll be a reduction throughout this year, and then it's budgeted for 2017. It'll be approved in the annual meeting in October, but it's slated again to have a 5% wholesale rate reduction for 2017. So
Very good.
it flows directly to our customers. What?
And what you attribute that to?
Well, when I first got here, I raised a lot of cane on how they manage their power supply and their risk. So we've basically changed the whole portfolio around. All of our long-term contracts with the IOUs, we've reduced them to the minimum take of megawatts, and then we've been buying 35 to 50% of our power supply on the wholesale markets, day ahead, real time, and fixed term contracts. So it basically built a lot more flexibility into our portfolio. It used to be all long-term deals. Now there's a good mix of short, intermediate, and long-term deals, and that has thus reduced the rates significantly since 2008, pretty much.
So what's a customer gonna see?
Well, like John mentioned, it's all going to flow down through the PCAC, so that's our mechanism that the PSC allows us to adjust the power bills by, so they should see a reduction in their power bills next year, probably the same magnitude.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it does nothing for Water and Light's revenues or expenses. It's basically a direct pass through to the customer, so they'll see it.
Good news.
Yeah.
Your first comment about ATC with their rate challenge.
Correct.
Is that, what would you like to see? I mean, don't we partake on either side of this?
We do partake on each side of that.
I guess that was
we
kind of
get an
bittersweet,
earnings check from ATC every quarter. I think it's good. I think they're getting out of hand with a 12-13% rate of return. FERC did that initially to spur transmission and development, and there's been a lot of that going on since they've been earning that rate of return. And this will, again, going from, our transmission right now is 10 to 15 bucks a megawatt hour, which is a lot of money, or 10 to 15 cents,
Yeah.
So I think, again, it's going to be good for the customers because they're going to see rebates come back. If FERC rules on these in the favor of the complaints, then the customers are going to see rebates given through the power cost adjustment charge, because they're going to have to go back to 2013 and credit all the utilities from whatever it ends up at, 10%, so they'll have to give 2 or 3% back on what they've collected as far as transmission charges. And then that'll flow back to the customers through the PCA.
So, well, the good thing is.
But I think it's good. It's going to reduce our quarterly dividend check, but I think it's well worth it we're here to serve the customers, so.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, review of the accounts payable.
I got one question. What's that stolen tool replacement?
I didn't hear you, Mike. Can you? Oh, thought we had covered that, but when we were doing the High Street project, we, for the first 3 nights, kept our trucks inside the fence at the substation to prevent us from driving, or to save the time of driving back and forth between this building and the substation. And what happened was somebody went and cut the fence on Sunday night, I believe it was. And we came in at 7 o'clock Monday morning and some of the tools were missing from the trucks. So whoever did it, they obviously knew the trucks were there over those 2 days' time, but the items that they took, a lot of them, they probably couldn't have used because they're like crimpers and the like, so it's not a very common tool. So there was other things there they could have probably took that were a lot more valuable, but that amounted to, what we had to replace. And we contacted the police department, filed a report, and did the best we could to try to figure out what happened to them, but we never did find anything.
Did insurance cover any of that, or?
Well, again, we have the $10,000 deductible, so they'll cover anything above and beyond that. I just looked before the meeting, and we're just over $20,000 in replacements at this point.
That blew my mind when I read that, because
I'll tell you, that ain't very hard. Some kids broke into the warehouse, and we just had small hand tools compared to that. And it was 13,000.
yeah,
So it don't take long.
where I was working before, we were having lunch one day, and I heard some noise, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and they were taking a chainsaw out of the back of the truck while we were eating. That's what we used to go through down there. Oh.
They got a lot of guts, yeah.
Hopefully, FERC has been kind of pushing for cameras and security at the substations, so once we get those up next year, hopefully that will help that situation. But from now on, we're not leaving any trucks in the sub with tools in it.
That's cheaper to drive them back and forth.
As it turns out, anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
Area equipment, Volvo excavator, is that what we just talked about in the last few meetings?
Yeah,
The new purchase of equipment?
We purchased that large excavator and that mini excavator.
Okay.
I think they were ordered back in January. They came in June.
The mini came in first, and then the bigger one a couple months later, but yeah.
So this was just paying for those.
Okay, the last thing we talked about was that a bucket truck?
That was a bucket truck.
And is that 200 days away, or is
It's
that
almost a year away.
a year away?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you guys are talking about doing your budget. If there's capital equipment that you know you need, are you going to start getting quotes and driving new vehicles as soon as we can? So
Well, all that'll be covered in the budget meeting, but we'll get pricing enough to know what the budget number is, and then next year we'll actually go through the quotes and get the prices and stuff.
because it looks like you have to replace a piece of equipment almost every year.
Typically, we'll replace 1 or 2 pieces each year to make sure the fleet stays up to snuff, so to speak.
Okay.
The excavator that you put the teeth on, was that a trencher? I can't find it in here.
No, I think that was just the large excavator that they bought. They just it's got 2 different buckets on it, and they just had to buy new teeth for the one, so.
Because I know what we used to do, we had a special material we'd weld onto instead of replacing the whole tooth, we just slide something over the end and weld it on. I don't know if they still do that.
These fit on like a socket, they're made to replace. There's a pin you drive out and just put your one on.
They're easy.
Relatively, yeah.
Anybody have anything else you'd like to talk about on the accounts payable? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I would.
Okay, we have a motion, second.
I'll second.
We have a second. All in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.